Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU, even all of its novels, in chronological order, as best I know how. Folks, I've been doing this for a couple of years, and through those years I've gotten to review a lot of short stories and comic books and everything, and every time I get to a novel I get so excited. And these past few months I've been doing nothing hardly but novels, and that's been great. It's been great ever since New Geo Order. It's just been novel, short story, maybe comic book, but more novels. I'm like, yeah, my how time flies. We are finally at the final novel, chronologically speaking, of the Expanded Universe. And this one is written by one of my favorite authors too, Troy Denning. It is called Crucible. Now, folks, I have reviewed this book in detail before. I have an article in the book A More Civilized Age where I actually talk about this one. I just recently reread it, and I'll give a short overview of what the story is, but I'm going to try to add on to anything that I've written. I'm going to try not to be as repetitive as I was in that essay that I wrote for Sequart. So first off, let's just go over what's going on. Well, Han and Leia are going to visit Lando at a space station. He's having issues. Again, Lando's always having issues and calling them. He's not a good friend. It's almost like if you have a pickup truck, it's that guy who says, hey, can you help me move something? That's the only time he calls you, when he needs you to move something. Anyway, Lando's having trouble with pirates. So they go to meet him, but they meet some other guy called Omad Kag, who's going to be part of the storyline too. He says, I'm working with Lando. Lando sent me here too. And they're like, did he? I don't know. Who are you? And then, of course, there's trouble in the cantina that Han and Leia have to get out of, caused by Kag. And then the story kind of develops to where there's something going on with this corporation called GIT, Galactic Exploration Technologies. And the Quirf brothers are behind it all. So industrial sabotage is afoot. In fact, Lando's operations are hurting from sabotages, and Han and Leia are trying to help him out. Of course, Luke's getting involved because he thinks this may be a little bit more than what Han and Leia think it is, or they kind of uncover a few things. They said, we better call Luke in on this. And sure enough, I'm trying not to spoil too many things, but I do want to talk about this. Vistari is part of the story. She's revealed, comes out of hiding just for a minute, and then runs back off with Ship. So Vistari's story is, as we're told, it's to be continued. Yes, she's still out there. She's not going away. We haven't forgot about her, but her story is coming up. It's kind of what Crucible felt like it was saying. Now, just to kind of skip to the ending here, the Quirf brothers are being chased by Luke and Leia to a planet where there's a mysterious monolith that transports all four of them to this other world, dimension, whatever, where the Quirf brothers get force powers now. And so they can go toe-to-toe with Luke and Leia. Really weird stuff. And Luke and Leia, of course, defeat them easily. I shouldn't say easily. This is a brutal book in a lot of ways. But anyway, after they're defeated, they don't know how to get out and back to the real world from the monolith. And so Han says their names. Leia. And Leia comes. Luke. And Luke comes. I don't get it. By the way, Myrta Give is in it. She actually is working for the opposition. I think she captures Han at one point too, beats him up too. Say, hey, Han's like, weren't we friends? She's like, that was a few years ago, not anymore. So Myrta Give's in it too. It just seems like a little, and it ends with, everything being okay, but Han, Leia, and Luke acknowledging, hey, maybe it's time to move on and step aside and let the youngins take over. Now, that was the whole point of the New Geo Order, right? The new was going to take over the young. But as we saw, it didn't really happen. And I believe Troy Denning told me this. He said that, the new character, the children were main characters, but so were Han, Leia, and Luke. And they really wanted Han, Leia, and Luke to drop out of the limelight a little bit. And so Crucible was supposed to be it. It was supposed to be the Luke, Han, and Leia's story one last time. Now, from here on out, there'll be guest star appearances as the children take over. They really kind of wanted to retire those characters or bring them into smaller stories, like Lando, I guess. Speaking of Lando, I think this is where we get to see Chance a little bit more. I don't recall. I think he makes a brief appearance, though. Either way, Crucible, my thoughts about Crucible, I did like Crucible. These characters get beat up. I mean, Han, Leia, and Luke get through the meat grinder, man. They are just damaged, broken bones. I mean, just blood everywhere. They get busted and bruised through it. And I remember when I talked to Troy Denning, I kidded with him. I said, I guess they wouldn't allow you to kill one of them off, so you just damage them. He's like, no, I was just showing that, their time has come. They're getting too old for this. They need to let other people go. But it's a really brutal book. It is. They get beat. Those characters get beat up. Now, I was happy to see they call the big three, Luke, Han, and Leia story. And I was okay with it being the final, Luke, Han, and Leia centric story. From here on, we're going to move on with the kids. I found, Jaina interesting, Jack, a lot of the young generation, Ben. I was all for getting stories of them. But my problem is, this is how it ended. And Crucible was never meant to be an ending to a series. And I argue this in my Sequart book, that's why the expanded universe needs to continue. A lot of reason, and I don't know if the employees at Lucasfilm understand this, but a lot of the reason we want these stories continued is because we didn't get closure. We want closure for this story that we followed for 40 years, or some of you, maybe a little less, but for me, for a long time. All right? We want to hear what happened, what became of all of our characters. I'd like to see them connected all the way up to the Legacy comic books, to be honest. If that was all we ever got, was, some books describing what happened in between that era, those, 80 years or whatever, good. That's all I want then. I would be able to rest peacefully knowing the story has been completed. Or just give us another big 9-book splash, one big story arc series where we can tie up all the other loose ends and then finally come to a happy ending. I'd be okay with that too, I guess, but we got Crucible, which wasn't supposed to be the ending. It just became the de facto ending, when Disney bought out Lucasfilm and they hit the big reset button. And again, I'm trying not to be repetitive as I was in my to repeat everything from my Sequart article, but that's a big reason why I think the expanded universe should be continued, because there are unconcluded stories. And for those long-term readers, I think we deserve to know, to be honest. We've put in our time, we've paid our money to get big collections like this, and we want to know how it ends. I want to know. I mean, we're told a few things from the Legacy comic books, what I'll be reviewing next, but we don't get to know anything about the fates of Han, Leia, Luke. I get asked all the time, what do you think their fates were? I don't know. Maybe they died all peacefully. Who knows? But the thing is, though, Crucible was never meant to be an ending. It was supposed to be a stepping stone for the next big series, whatever that was going to be. Troy Denning admitted they didn't really have a plan yet. They hadn't set down yet. But there was going to be another, 9-book story arc. And sadly, it never came to be. So, first off, should you read Crucible? Yeah, fine. It's a fine book. But it's not going to make you happy because there's not an ending to some of these characters. The story's still out there. There's still other things that have yet to be concluded. We don't know what's going to happen with Abeloth yet. A few loose ends. Again, they didn't do it on purpose. They thought they were going to be able to have a chance to continue the story, and they didn't. I would have loved to have heard from anyone at this point, how they thought it would end. Any of those authors. I think Troy Denning would be the one who had the best idea of how it would end, but according to him, he said they never got into talks about that. Either way, it's sad that it had to end on this novel, and it's sad that this has the unfortunate title of being the final novel, chronologically speaking, in the expanded universe. The last novel to ever come out, Honor Among Thieves. No, I didn't cheat and just look there. But yeah, that was the last publicated novel to come out. But this was the last, Crucible was the last one chronologically. And really sad that it had to end this way, because I had so many hopes and dreams of what was going to continue on. And at this time, we just don't know. So a sad ending to an epic story that was probably going to even greater heights. But at this point, right now, it's anyone's guess at what happened from the beyond. All right, folks. That's it. My final novel review. But don't worry. I have plenty of comic books to review. And I'm going to start doing those next time in another video.